Let's do that. I think it's a really good idea.
It's about time.
Good afternoon. Welcome to a Friday afternoon Gray's live stream. Just make sure that my computer is muted before it suddenly shows me an advert. How are you today? We are all right, aren't we?
Yeah, how was your day? Tell us. We want to know.
A very, very happy birthday to David for joining us.
Happy birthday to you.
We won't do the whole thing.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, but we're really delighted that you've woken up at 6 o'clock in the morning to watch us, and to everyone else who is all over the world. It's pretty amazing to see where everybody is. We are a bit dark, actually.
We are a bit dark,
but let me
we?
just up my brightness. No,
if you up the brightness, things change. Interesting. Okay.
Okay.
It's not the exposure. Okay.
It's not the exposure, it's just my dark screen.
But I think our white balance is out of whack as well.
Might be a little bit. Don't sit up too straight, otherwise it'll chop your head off.
True. Okay. I'm gonna do
doing
the
so
usual
well.
me hedge back.
We're doing so well today. Now, I noticed there was a little bit of Hasselblad chat at the beginning there. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But in the meantime, I wanted to let you know a couple of things. First of all, we have a winner of our tote bag from last week.
Oh yes.
I should probably have.
Yeah. Shall I show the winner?
Yes.
Yeah. Shall we do that? Okay.
Winner,
all right.
winner, chicken dinner
Pum pum pum.
is Dave Thompson. Well done, Dave.
What?
So you get one of these lovely, fetching Nikon tote bags. So Dave, I think I've got your address, but just in case, can you send us an email to media@graysofwestminster.co.uk. I'd like to do a little giveaway for next week.
Yeah. You feel generous or charitable?
I feel
both?
generous. For those of you that do follow me on Instagram, will know that I received my author copies of my debut adult novel, historical fiction, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I actually got my author copies. I've got a couple of them, and I thought I'd quite like to give one away in the chat.
That sounds good.
Now, for our US viewers, actually, the paperback's not available until next February, so this would be very exclusive if you did manage to get one.
Ooh, it's a limited region release. So there's going to be lots of grey importers of Becky's books to the United States.
It's not a spicy novel, no. It's historical fiction, but it's for grown-ups as opposed to for children or middle grade
So
readers.
there could be some spice in there. You shouldn't say no. You should.
I'm not going to talk about it.
You need to sell it. You know.
Yeah, but
it's your first book. You know?
That's right. That's right. Anyway, so if you like a sort of gothic Regency mystery thriller type thing, then and you'd like to win a copy, then feel free to pop a comment. Just say I'd like to win, or I'd like to win a copy of
But not in the chat.
Not in the chat.
We want it in the comments because the chat we can't then give this automated system to pick a winner.
Exactly. And then I will draw a winner and I will pay to post it to you wherever you are in the world.
Do you think I changed white balance? Because I have a bit of OCD. We look too blue. We are like from Avatar Part 2 right now.
You think so? I think we look okay. Seth's here. Seth's in the chat.
Seth is in the chat. Hello, Seth.
Thank you so much for joining this morning. Charles just stopped by to drop a like. Thanks, Charles. I guess you must be working or something. Can't watch the whole chat.
Actually, likes are there. So if everyone presses it, then a lot more people will find out about this live stream.
That's right. And both John and Andy say the white balance is okay. So
yeah, okay.
chill. Your screen is much cooler than mine, actually, if you have a look. So mine is...
We have literally the same model on MacBook.
I know, but I've got the warm temperature thing set for reasons. Anyway, it's...
Well, normally I set it to 55K. Or 54K, something like this. But this looks like an ultra white balance.
Well, this one, I don't know, whatever I've got it is on that warm setting because when I'm writing, I just need it to be a bit easier on the eye. So I have that sort of slightly warmer screen. That's what I have it set to. Anyway, Seth is on a train, so it's going to be in and out, but we appreciate you coming, as we appreciate,
as always,
everyone who's here.
Thanks for joining us.
Exactly. So now, one other thing that I want to talk about, apart from giving away a copy of my book, which is very exclusive, we have the new issue of Nikon. Oh, no, da, da, da. This is actually the matte proof, if it doesn't look glossy on your screen.
It's Becky at the front cover. Well, not Becky herself, but her photograph.
It's a picture that I took.
It's a photograph of Becky on her day off.
This is actually from our big cat sanctuary trip. And yes, I made a front cover for the first time ever, which I'm quite amazed about. But anyway, so we are doing a little thing because it's the last day of the month. If you subscribe in any way, shape or form, renew your subscription or add some time to your subscription or become a brand new subscriber, I will put the Nikon owner link in the description box. But in the coupon code, if you put stream or live stream, then I will send you a goodie for having done that. Might be a hat, might be a tote, might be a Nikon pen.
The luck of a fortune.
Yeah.
But what you had to say at the end is like the lines are open and it's 8-100 Nikon owner.
It's not. But you can call the shop if you
And now Elton John is going to sing some songs for us. Yeah.
Man, just call the shop. Absolutely. You don't have to call the shop if you're an international customer. It works normally anyway, but if you are struggling with it, you can always call the shop and we can put it through over the telephone. That's
or you can do online, yeah?
Or you can do it online. He was saying it was a problem doing it online.
Oh, I see, okay.
Towards, I think, about a month or two ago, there was sort of this like double security thing that kicked in for a lot of customers. So basically the card companies were kicking a lot of people off online websites and you had to do double authentication. And I think we may have had an issue there.
You know what they have now as well? Like you need to log into your online banking by the app.
Exactly
and
that.
then improve the transaction as well. So that was new.
Yeah. Now, David, my book is actually available on Audible from the 13th of October, but I did not read it. A very, very talented voice actress has read it and done all the voices of all the characters and everything. I've listened to a good chunk of it already, and so
Are you going to do some public reading as well?
I will. Yeah, I'm going to do a signing and a reading on the 29th of October. But it's not
Trafalgar Square Centre.
Waterstones Piccadilly. No, it's not there. It's in a very lovely little bookshop down in East Grinstead called the East Grinstead Bookshop, and it's a kind of Tudor style building. And because the book is set in West Sussex, I thought it would be quite good. So anyway,
support your local shop.
Yeah, exactly. Your local booksellers. So so I will be doing that then. But we have to say some thank yous. We have to say thank you to Vince.
Oh, thank you, Vince.
For your contribution to the Coffee Fund, and to Marvel for your contribution to the Coffee Fund.
Hi, Marvel. Thank you very much.
If you haven't already given the stream a like, please give it a like. And Nigel's asking when the Z8 release date is, because he missed the beginning. We haven't talked about that yet, Nigel.
It wasn't on the record.
No. Seth asked if we got to see stuff in person that we hadn't yet seen at the photography show. We did see the 400 4.5, which we hadn't had hands on, and obviously the 17 to 28 because that had been announced.
The problem is Seth gets everything like 3 days before. You know.
I know. We're very jealous.
I know.
But we didn't see. What didn't we see that we? Because we've seen pretty much everything else in person. We've seen the 400 2.8, the 800 5.6. So apparently the Tamron Z mount lens was at the show on the first 2 days, and then apparently the
stand employee who was off that day just took it with him.
Basically, someone took it away.
Yeah,
and so they put the Sony version on there instead, just as a kind of mock-up. Like, this is a promise of what it's essentially going to look like. So yes, we haven't actually seen that one yet, because on the day we got there, someone had already taken it away, which was a shame.
I mean, it basically looks the size and, like a standard 7300 lens. So if you imagine Nikon 7300 f mount, that would look basically the same with a Tamron branding.
Yeah, just a bigger mount.
Yeah, I'm not saying that one is made by another. No, it's not this. It's just I'm saying in terms of shape and form.
So thank you to Champagne Sumo for your contribution to the Coffee Fund. David asks why coffee and not tea. Doesn't seem proper because you can't have coffee and crumpets.
Tomorrow is an international coffee day.
That's not why it's called the Coffee Fund.
So we are celebrating early by opening this coffee fund for you.
We just prefer coffee. I drank tea so much as a young growing up. I mean, we raise our kids on tea basically. So I kind of got to grown-up levels.
Not in my family.
I prefer coffee. As Roy said, coffee is my favorite food group.
That's right. Would you like a vintage Nikon coffee or a modern?
Yeah. I like how you got both logos on there.
It's just, if you use both sides, that's how it works now.
Yeah, it's
amazing.
cool.
I know.
It's cool. So So Nikon owner, yes, I need to put the description thing, but I can't do that whilst also talking because then I'm just gonna bore everyone.
Okay.
So I will put a link, but if you go to nikonownermagazine.com and subscribe in any way, shape or form and put the word stream in the coupon code box, then you will get an extra special goodie when you subscribe. Doesn't matter which subscription you do, whether it's electronic, paper, 1 year, 2 year, gold, diamond, platinum, any of those, you will get an extra goodie from me personally. So yeah, go ahead. And thank you to everyone who said well done on the book as well. I started writing that book in September 2019. So it's taken 3 years to get it from writing to publication, which is probably better than some.
So the book is going to be out soon. Yeah. So people can pre-order it, right?
Yeah.
So,
now, if you pre-order it, it helps.
You see, I'm promoting. I want my cut.
I really appreciate
remember that. Remember me.
That.
And also, you can pre-order this. Yeah, where?
From all good book places, but Amazon if you're all over the world.
It's not a good book place, but it's probably the most accessible one.
It's
for
the
a lot of
most
people.
accessible one, and obviously you can buy it on Kindle and all that stuff.
But you've wrote the books before; they just were self-published, right?
That's right, indie published. So this one is the first traditionally published.
Okay,
one.
and if people want more of your writing,
they want more, they can. So this one is published under Rebecca Hardy because it's debut adult novel, you know. So great. I hate the fact that you keep laughing when I say the word adult novel.
16 plus.
You don't read enough books to comment on that.
Well, I do read fiction, so
adult fiction. That's what it is, but it's not spicy fiction. There's a difference.
Actually, I've never read those. You know.
No. Oh, well, that's good. That would be a weird place to confess it if you did.
No.
It's like the stream has gone.
Hello, my name is Konstantin and I read the adult fiction.
Dear.
Yeah.
But like, for example, lovely Israel said, congratulations, I pre-ordered it from Amazon. And see, that all really, really helps because then on the day of release, and this is like a little peek behind the curtain for you, for those of you who are interested in the publishing industry, if you pre-order a book, then on the day of release, all those orders get put through and then it shoots the book up to sort of like, you know, best-selling rankings. So that's why publishers and marketing teams tend to push for pre-orders.
I mean, the plan is to get a movie deal, and then Becky just leaves us, and it's just you and me, the viewer.
That's it. No, I mean,
but we would be happy for you, though.
I'm definitely gonna.
You could say I knew her before she was famous.
You can say that. Anyway, Terry says, "Congrats, front cover and a book publication." Thank you so much, Terry. I really appreciate it.
Becky is on the roll.
September is my month. That's what can I say. September and October. So now, Andrew asked back to cameras. Because that's what we're here for today.
No, I haven't done anything recently, actually, so I want to talk about that.
No, we did do a shoot.
No, we did. Yeah, we actually
yesterday
tested some Voigtlander lenses recently. And the one that comes up a lot in the charter is 58 1.4. So we finally used that one. And we also tested 90mm 2.8, and that was in a studio with a model in Brighton.
That's right. We were down at the Brighton studio, which is a nice location if anyone is ever looking for a studio space to work in. You can hire equipment from them. We brought our own, and we did. I would say, and it was an enjoyable model shoot for a few hours. 58 is a funny focal length because for me that's much more environmental kind of portraiture. I would rather be out and about with that. So this kind of took me out of my comfort zone a little bit. I have, as a lot of you will probably remember, the 55 1.2 AI, which was the one they did because they did a 55 1.2 pre-AI, then they did an AI version, and then they switched it to 50 1.2.
Yes.
So I have the 55 1.2, and I just did some comparisons yesterday between the two, and definitely the Nikon one. The interesting thing about the Nikon one is the shape of the bokeh is much. No, I think it's prettier, let's say, than the Voigtlander, but the Voigtlander is sharper. Basically, they're both not super sharp.
It's almost like it's a newer lens.
It is a newer lens by a considerable amount. The 55 1.2 was, I think, made back in 1975, so it holds up pretty well considering its age. Now, I wanted to read a question out here from Andrew, who said, do we assume that with a Z8 and or Z6/Z7 III...
we are back to that, okay.
Yeah, probably. Well, I want to address the question because otherwise I'll lose it. Probably coming from some point next year, any major firmware updates to the current Z6, Z7 II to improve AFC? We're assuming that it will probably no longer happen?
No, I think it will happen.
I think so too. And I did hear some vague I don't want to say rumor, but it was probably a rumor that we might see a firmware update on those. Although what it will have, I don't know.
I think I'm glad it's kind of died down because I mean, there's so much drama we can do on a weekly basis.
There's only so much.
Yeah.
So I think rumors we could talk about.
Exactly. So I think when it comes out, it's actually going to be a nice surprise. People will be happy, and we will see some improvement. Nikon is quite known for supporting their old equipment. And in terms of this, I don't see why not. But there is no firm guarantee that something's going to come out. It's just we think that it probably, well, based on previous releases, hopefully that will happen again.
Yes, exactly. We're looking at patterns more than anything concrete. Rob, I won't be leaving. Don't worry. He says, no, don't leave, Becky. I'm not going anywhere.
I know. It's just going to be awkward.
Because why is it going to be awkward? If you're here by yourself, you mean?
Exactly.
Going on my book tour. Nige said it's only 99p on Amazon. Yeah, I don't set the prices. That's my publisher. If you buy the paperback, though, the thing is with ebooks, I could do a whole separate stream on the subject of publishing. The thing with ebooks is that there are no overheads. There's no printing costs. There's no nothing. So you generally, whether you're a traditionally published or an indie published author, you will usually make more on an ebook than you will on a printed book. That is usually the case.
Okay, but how much cut do they take? Is it 30%?
Yeah, it usually ends up being about that. Plus, then agent takes a cut as well. So for
50p on a pound.
I could do a whole
buy 2 or 3 copies at least.
But just to give you a contrast with an indie published book, you do everything yourself, right? You are the marketer, the everything. You do everything. But if you're exclusive to Kindle, you make 70% on your book, and then Amazon take the rest.
Yeah, so this one is 70-30 is kind of very normal for like Google Play and
exactly. So it's all relative. Daryl, the name is The House of Lost Wives by Rebecca Hardy, because that was my maiden name, and wanted a good name that people could actually pronounce on my book. So there you go. My husband was like, what's wrong with my name? No one can pronounce it, darling.
It's a good name, because if people think House of Dragon and then House of Lost Wives, that's probably a second part.
Yeah, maybe. George R.R. Martin fans. Okay, so Roy said, funny how Nikon's 55s and 58s are always better than their 50 millimeters. Now, that's interesting, because obviously the 58 0.95 Z lens is a really niche lens. I mean, it's beautiful, but that's very, very niche. Then we have the 58mm Noct, which a lot of you will remember is a manual focus. They did an AI and an AIS, very special lens for shooting in very low light. Then the 50-1.2 and the 55-1.2, I did my comparisons before I bought mine, and I found that the 55 was just, I preferred that slightly tighter focal length. Which is why I do like the Voigtlander 58mm 1.4. I think that focal length is really good. I noticed when I was looking back at my shots yesterday, I mostly shot at f2, and that
you have to
worked. Yeah. When I was shooting wide open, I wasn't shooting at 1.4. I was shooting at f2, and I actually got some really decent results from that. With the 55 1.2, you can just about get away with 1.8, but you really also want to shoot at about f2, so that extra bit of aperture doesn't benefit you in any way.
So the part on there is you want to stop down any lens with extremely shallow depths of field. So just at least, something like a couple of stops. The reason for that being is it doesn't mean that you can't shoot wide open at 1.2, 1.4, but the chance of you getting it right, it's quite small. So you may find that maybe 2 out of 10 shots are going to be sharp and everything else is going to be slightly out of focus. So by stopping it down, you increase your chances of success.
There you go. Exactly. Tips from someone who knows. Thaddeus has the Voigtlander 58-1.4 and says it's very nice.
I think David has 1.4 as well.
He does.
58,
He's got some beautiful shots taken with that. Now, Baxter says he's still waiting for a firmware update for his FM2N. Which I like.
That's true.
And
any minute now.
Any minute now. Nigel said, any update on delivery of 100 to 400? Yes.
Still some downstairs today.
So I think all bar maybe one from the shipment downstairs are all prepaid for. So Nigel, if you already paid for one a week ago or so, then yours is down there, and Sam is patiently working his way through contacting everyone to let them know that their lenses are here. The beautiful thing about the 100-400 now is that the lead time or the wait time is much, much shorter. It's weeks, like 1 or 2 weeks as opposed to months. Yeah. So if you have been waiting for a 100-400, you will see one sooner rather than later. Solitary Sandpiper says TC 1.4, any update on availability? We've got like 2 coming in next week, and I think we've got people having waited for about a year. So it's slow on those, unfortunately. But they do exist, and they are slowly coming in. I
saw some MB-N11 grips, if anyone interested. So we've got those.
We've got those in stock. Those were out of stock for a year.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was interesting. We've got those in stock now. Champagne Suma said Rebecca Hardy was the name of a lady pro wrestler. Interesting. Was
Here you go.
And another... No.
Was it your secret past life?
I was Rebecca Hardy before I was Rebecca Denese. So anyway, there you go. Interesting. Funnily enough, my dad's name is Tom Hardy, which a lot of people confuse. Not the actor. So,
shame.
Yeah. And not the writer, Thomas Hardy, either. Mm-hmm. As Roy said, the old Noct was supposed to be balanced for night. It was a nocturnal lens.
That's the thing. I mean, of course, those lenses are better because the price was completely different, a lot more expensive, but also the approach to designing those lenses was completely different from standard 50. I mean, Nifty 50 was designed to be fairly inexpensive. And then, you've got those rare small round lenses as well. They weren't mass produced as well. Mm-hmm. So I guess that's the reason why.
Yeah. Exactly that. They are incredibly rare. I can't remember how many were made now, but I looked it up for someone. One of our lovely customers bought the last one that had ever been made, but based on the serial numbers. But then someone stole it in Paris.
Oh dear!
I know, it's really annoying. Andy says in Amazon USA the book is $17.99 in paperback. So there you go. Amazon USA are hopefully going to make me a bit more on that one. No, the thing is that they print the books over here. The publisher is Hachette, so they print them over here and send them, which is probably why it's a bit more expensive over there. But it's still 99 cents to buy it on Kindle. Andrew asks, are Z9s trickling in, or are they still as rare as hen's teeth? So we...
I mean,
haven't had any deliveries.
I think they're more frequent than Kodak Gold.
Yes,
that's for sure. So
definitely coming more frequently than Kodak Gold, but still not enough to keep us happy, shall we say?
Not in Europe and UK. It seems that if you look at the United States, it seems the situation is a little bit better. So it really depends which parts of the world that you are in, really, more than anything else.
Yeah.
As you said, you are hoping for the end of the year to fulfill all the back orders at least.
Well, I was hoping that when we were getting a bit of a delivery each month, but because we've not had any deliveries in September, it does make me wonder if we'll be able to do that. But that was my hope, sincerely. Daryl says, does anyone think it's strange we've not heard any rumor or rumblings about the 200 to 600 or the 85 that are on the roadmap? It's like Nikon put it on the roadmap and forgot about it. So... it's an interesting one. The 200 to 600. I mean, when we were talking to the guys on the Nikon stand, they seemed very aware that people are waiting for this lens. They weren't denying that there was a need for it.
I think you have to embrace it at this point. You can't just, be angry at what people want new things. I think you say, yeah, we know about this. It's good to acknowledge things.
We know.
But I think we're done with this year in terms of announcement, right? So
well,
it
Andy
looks like
says he's got bets on the Nikon launch event being the last Thursday in October, which, if so, I'd be very happy. Believe it or not, the Z9 came out announced on the 28th of October last year. So we've still got a few weeks if that were the case.
That wasn't development announcement, right?
No, that was the official announcement.
The official announcement.
That was when people started.
So yeah, the question is, are they going to do the development announcement first and then move on to actual announcement, or are we going to go to just normal release, aka Z30 style?
Well, do you remember if they did a development announcement for the D850? I don't think they did.
Development announcement is a new thing, really. Yeah, it's something that happened in the last 3 years,
Well, they did one for the D5. They did one for the D6, but I
can see the parts in there for the flagships.
Yeah, but I don't think they do them for the smaller bodies. So yeah, it's still definitely a possibility. Definitely a possibility.
I mean, I'd rather have a development announcement if I have to wait for 6 months. At least I know it's coming.
Yeah, exactly. And then we can just spend the next 6 months speculating on what the specs are going to be.
Welcome to the internet.
And as Dave pointed out, quite a number of lenses have come out that didn't exist when the 200-600 first went on there. I think that 200-600 has been on there forever. So there we go. Paul's just had a call to say his 400 4.5 is in the shop. I saw that downstairs. Sorry if I shouted at you then. I was excited. I was excited for Paul. We love making those phone calls. We really do. So Peter says, what do you know about the 200-600? Literally nothing. We don't, apart from the fact that it's a 200-600. We don't know when it's coming or...
Yeah, but then I'm puzzled why there's no 70-300 on the roadmap. It's like the lens, the consumer lens that you really need to have.
Yeah.
Or make 70-200 f4, which I think maybe it's important for kind of pros or let's say semi-keen enthusiasts, but we still need to get the consumer lens first anyway, I think.
Yeah.
You know, so
I
it's
think so.
strange. It's difficult to say. But Andy says that the 850 development announcement was on 25th of July, 2017.
Thanks for your quick skills there, Andy, in supplying that. So they did do a development announcement. And then when did the camera come out? In September. And then it was out of stock for a year in the States. And for about 8 months here. But we did eventually get our hands on them.
Brace yourselves. It's not going to get easier.
Champagne Zuma says, I wish I kept the D850. D850 is a beautiful camera. You were using a D850 yesterday.
It was so strange. So yesterday, I've sold my D850 a long time ago. So not a long time ago, maybe 3-4 months ago. So I brought D850 to put F-mount wide lens on D850. And we started to shoot, and it's a manual focus lens. And then I realized how spoiled I am with the mirrorless technology because, especially with manual focus lens, you can kind of focus it and then you can digitally zoom in to check if your focusing is correct.
Yeah.
With optical viewfinder, especially if you're photographing a model, full height shots, so you're quite far away, in a not well-lit studio, it's quite difficult. So I was struggling. And then, yeah, you don't want to shoot wide open because you don't trust your eyes. That's the thing. And it's obviously something that I'm just, I was used to, obviously, and I forgot about it. And I felt really, really rusty with the camera coming back, from mirrorless system.
I mean, for years, that's how you shot and did all your beauty and fashion. Was with...
Well, I had it for 5 years at least, yeah.
Exactly. So it's so funny that you get so used to this other thing. Rubaid Runa asks, will you test the new Nissi 9mm? Hey, if Nissi want to send us one to test, we definitely will. We've got a few goodies from some other places that they've sent us things to test, and we'll put out videos as and when on those. We've got, things that are in the pipeline with some of these companies that they send to us, and we always appreciate them. And we definitely, if someone sends us something, we really try and do. I think there's only one product we haven't yet been able to do a video for. But most of them we've actually put something out. So yeah. Rakesh, I don't know if it was you that was asking about the older D lenses. There was someone earlier asking which of the D lenses, yes, it was you, were any good. So the 70-210 is on a high resolution sensor. I wouldn't necessarily rate it. It was great for, I used it on a D200 actually, and I got some nice results out of that, but it's a push-pull zoom.
Yeah, not a big fan of push-pull lenses.
So it's quite challenging to get that right sometimes. Now, depending, if you're going to use it on a Z camera, obviously it's going to be manual focus, which is going to be tricky. Not impossible, but tricky. If you're using it on a DSLR, then the higher resolution sensors aren't going to show it in its best light, let's say, but there are some gems in those D lenses.
Would you choose 70-300 ED non-VR over 70-210?
I don't. Yes, I would. I don't like that lens very much, to be honest. But yes, I would choose it over the 70-210 probably. It also has an aperture ring. Yeah. There is a version, there's a G version, which doesn't have an aperture ring, which is
avoid that one like a plague.
Terrible. Yeah. That was, I think, a plastic kit lens brought out with the F80 or something.
They even have like a silver version of that.
Yeah, it was pretty horrendous. But Roy says the fixed aperture non-push-pull version was very good. They did do an unusual 70-210 f4. Was it 70-210 f4? I'm trying to think. I think it was. And there weren't many of them. And as I say, fixed aperture, that one, I would say, of all of them is probably the better one. But 70-300 ED otherwise isn't too bad. Albert asks, will there be a Nikon Z28 1.2S? Oh my goodness. Can you imagine? A boat.
Well, they did 1.4. I think, to be honest with you, I mean, I don't think it's on, like, let's say, urgent. So I don't think we'll see it at least in 3-4, like, it will take 3-4 years.
Yeah, it might be, that would be a tricky one.
Yeah, but
the
1.4, exactly. That one
F.
is like delicious.
Yeah, the
honestly.
1.4F was beautiful. So if they can do something like that with a Z lens, if they can do the 105 1.4 in a Z form, I would be happy.
Yeah, definitely, Albert. If you haven't tried that lens, do check it out. It's amazing. For what it is, it's fantastic.
Brilliant. Sorry, some of these comments are a bit random. So now there was someone else I wanted to. Nick's got his 404.5.
I want to thank Yaman because he talks about my hair situation last week.
Yes.
That's why today we're not advertising any hats, but we have a beanie to advertise, which you may want to look into that. But I'm just not going to put that on because if I take it off, it's just going to be all afro.
Going to be everywhere.
Exactly.
And thank you very much for your contribution to the coffee fund.
Thank you
as well. Thomas asks what lens to use with the Z9 and ES2. You want to answer the question? Do you know?
Well, it would be 60.
Well, it would be the 50 MC.
50 MC, yes. I'm thinking F mount, yes. 50 MC.
Yeah. So the 50mm 2.8 macro works very, very well in that setup. You could also, if you have one already, you could use a 60mm F mount lens, 2.8G or 2.8G.
55 micro, AIS.
55 does work, although then you have to do a bit of cropping in post just because it's 1:2, not 1:1. And I think there is actually a way with the 55mm. You might need an extension tube, if I remember correctly. I did write several articles about this back when the ES2 first came out, and I put it on every single lens combination of macro lens in that focal length that I could think of. I've even seen some people do some really weird stuff where they've gone 105 with reversing rings and extension tubes, but on the front of the lens so that they can create enough distance between the front lens element and the ES2 to use a 105 for that job. Obviously, the problem is the closest focusing distance is quite small with the ES2, so you need a lens that can focus that closely. Anyway, so hopefully that helps you, Albert. I was going to put, let me just try and do it while I'm talking here. I'm going to put it in the chat. If you do want to subscribe to Nikon Owner, someone said, what do I do if I'm already a subscriber? Well, you can extend your subscription. You can add a year or something like that. Or obviously we will periodically try and do offers, but this is specifically for today. I love our cheerleaders in the chat, Rob and Andy. Yeah, it's like saying, guys, where are your likes?
that helps.
It really helps.
It really doesn't cost you anything to press that button there. And it just shows you appreciation because, again, if you've discovered it and you enjoy it, by pressing the like, it's just the way the Google algorithm works. It basically shows it to a lot more people when they browse YouTube.
Yeah.
So hopefully they'll discover it and they'll join it and they tune in. I mean, we have a lot of people joining us for live streams, for the podcast as well.
Yeah.
A lot of people come in and say, "Oh, I didn't know you exist." And we've been doing this for 3 years now?
Yeah, something
Full
like
on?
that.
Yeah.
For a while. We started to get really, really kind of active in, I think, 2019, something like that. Rob said, then Becky can buy her 51.2 Z. Exactly.
It's a nice lens.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, when Albert asked about 28 1.2, I mean, yes, they do 51.2. It's highly likely we're going to get 85 1.2 and probably 35 1.2. So it's just, I'm thinking 28 1.2, it will be quite an achievement, but I'm starting to worry about the size again. So maybe, I mean,
size and price.
If you look at that strategy, then probably it makes sense for them to release it. But yeah, it's a bit like, I don't know. I find it like 1.4 is so good.
1.4 is great. I don't think that they need to do a 1.2 in that one, but it's always nice to have. Deborah, where is the 200 macro? I have had a couple of people who I think are in the know who've said, please put me down on the pre-order list for the 200mm macro Z. I do get a few people who obviously hear something somewhere and then they just put their name on a list and we create a list for them. So I'm hoping it will happen. Tom Hogan seems to think it will.
Well, it's the top list on his survey, like the top lens on his survey that people want. Yeah,
exactly. So whether or not Nikon will listen is another matter, but it would be nice. No, Navneet asks, do you think a lighter Nikon Z 2470 2.8 version 2 is coming anytime soon? Now, I would actually say the 28 to 75 2.8 is probably the cheaper, lighter version. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I think that that's kind of, they've already done that. Do you know what I mean? So that's my answer to that. What do you think? Do you think they would do a yet another mid-range 24 to 70 2.8 zoom? I mean,
knowing Nikon, they will.
There's 6 of them.
Yeah, so I think they're going for at least 10 in that range. So let's be honest.
So there's still.
I mean, let's just explore it. So you can have 24 to 80. That one, 24 to 85.
Yeah.
2.824 plus variable aperture lens. That's 2 lenses already.
Yeah.
The choice. I mean, the world Nikon is your oyster, really.
Nige, I love that comment. Only people who've read my books will understand what it says, but thank you so much. These are other characters from my other book series.
I feel clueless.
I have it's so difficult having multiple sort of personalities, writing this book series for young adults and this series for adults, and then also coming and talking about cameras. When those worlds sort of collide, I get a bit confused.
No,
I'm very good at compartmentalizing.
Being honest, I mean, I will spend £1 on this adult stuff that you just wrote, so.
Appreciate it.
Which I've never read, but I will now.
Yes.
You sold me on it. You said adult in there.
It's so funny because I think a lot of people expect it to be much scarier than it is. It depends if you like scary books. It's not scary. It's a mystery. It's not scary.
Is it like gore scary or tense scary?
Tense scary.
Yeah, I prefer that.
It's not like horror. I don't write horror.
Okay.
I don't like it. So that's why I don't write it.
Well, one day when you write a space horror, I'm in.
Okay.
Definitely. That's my gem.
I could give you a few recommendations.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, so Deborah says, I still use the 200 macro F version all the time, so would probably pay whatever it costs. I really do think that they missed, I mean, obviously going with the Z system now, it makes sense, but I think they really missed a trick not doing a G version of that lens or the 70 to 180, because both of those macro lenses were superb, and they're both D lenses. But now it would be nice to have some longer macro lens. The 105 is great, but it doesn't take the teleconverters, and I think that's kind of, they're missing a trick there a bit.
I think macro lenses make sense because if your whole thing about wildlife photography, I think macro fits in there as well. So why not to do that? And as I say, like if they, well, Tom said that he sent the survey to Nikon because they asked him specifically for that. So hopefully it goes somewhere. And it's not just that we need 200mm lens. I think it's another statement release. Where it shows you we are looking after you and it's something that we want you to enjoy. So, again, it's not going to be the mass-produced lens, but I think a lot of keen enthusiasts as well as pros will buy it.
Yes, precisely. Now, was it Andy who asked, would you want the announced Z135S to have defocus control or just wonderful bokeh from so many rounded aperture diaphragm blades? The latter for me.
Yeah,
what about you?
I agree.
Did you ever use the defocus control bit?
Yeah, I never got kind of used to it, so no, not my thing, definitely.
I think part of the problem with that DC lens is that you've got to set your aperture on your camera and match the aperture on the defocus control mechanism. Now, otherwise the images are soft.
So you need to line up two things, and you need to keep remembering it constantly when you do that.
That's right. So if you suddenly go, oh, actually, I want to shoot at f5.6, not at f4 or f2, and then you forget to switch that defocus control switch, then your pictures are soft. If you had used that that lens on a film camera and you forgot all about it, and then you got your film back from your studio shoot or your portrait shoot, you'd be really annoyed. Don't you think?
I mean, like people talking about 1.2 lenses. You see, like for me, I would love to have that aperture, but I'm tired of the swirly bokeh.
You don't like swirly bokeh?
I need a glass-like bokeh. I need something like 5x4 bokeh or medium format bokeh. If they can achieve that rendering, then I'm in. But more of those swirls and circles, I'm not particularly interested anymore.
Them? I like swirls and circles, but I do like the effect that those Voigtlander Z lenses have.
Yeah, those are different. They go in for that look, for that vintage look. But even now, the modern lenses, you do get that swirl. It's just more battery, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. Baxter's scared of tents, so I guess you're definitely not one for camping. I agree, actually. I'm not one for camping either. Champagne Sumo says, I find Pentax shooters scary. So are we talking medium format here? Or are we talking just generally? I
mean, those cameras are big, I agree.
Yeah, they are very scarily big and very, very heavy. Now, just having a look. Nicholas said, I wonder if Nikon could make a firmware update for the 105 to accept teleconverters. Unfortunately, I think it's a mechanical thing because of the way, if you've looked at a teleconverter, the rear element in that protrudes. And if your element, the front element, and if the rear element in your lens is not recessed enough, then all that's going to happen is it's going to break your lens, essentially. We've had a lot of people who over the years bought a Nikon teleconverter for their little like 18 to 200 or 70 to 300, went, oh, it doesn't fit, even for the 2470 2.8G. And they'd go, oh, it doesn't seem to go on. And you think, please don't try and put it on, because they're not made for that, really. So I don't think it would be a firmware thing. I think it's definitely a physical thing. However, I would like it if they made the 200mm macro compatible with the teleconverters.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be cool?
I mean, 105, the F-mount version, was compatible.
I know. Yeah, it would be.
Not the current one, is it?
No.
No.
Yes, the current one, the GVR.
Yeah, but not the current Z version.
Oh,
that's
no.
what I meant. Yeah.
No.
But the F-mount is compatible, yes.
Exactly. Baxter is fully behind a 135 macro for portrait work rather than a defocus control version. Anthony said 135 f2 AIS produces dreamy bokeh. I have the 135 f2.8, and that also does a jolly good job, I would say, at dreamy bokeh. Thank you to J-Rod Photo Art.
Thank you very much
for your contribution to the coffee fund. And then Andy said, Con, you need many more rounded.
I'll take them all the blades I can.
15 plus. That's a lot of aperture blades. That would be quite a difficult thing to engineer, I think.
Yeah, I think I think I want to get some adapters for large format lenses or for medium format lenses to put on that camera. I just want to see what they render like. You've got the Pentax lenses.
Does it exist yet?
Well, I'm sure there's 645. That's for sure. The Pentax 2Z. We need to check Photodiox. If they have it, then that will be the company. I know they have my Mamiya 7 adapter. I want to definitely look into that because I love the ranging of this lens. Stop down, not wide open. Wide open is horrible. It's like the corners are like, just like almost like covering like 40% of the frame, So you really want to shoot it like at minimum f8, but the images are just magic.
That's the 40.
80mm f4, which is 40 equivalent, yeah.
Yes, okay. Yeah, I know the one. I've seen you with it. Now, Peter's waiting for a variable megapixel stack sensor Z8 with tilt screen, mechanical shutter, and high-res EVF.
I'll get them all. And global shutter at the same time. Why not? So that's the thing. People will never be happy. As soon as the new camera comes out, there will be something else to look forward to.
Need to do something more. But that's always been the way.
That's always been the way. I agree. And that's the thing. I mean, D850 is still a king of DSLRs for sure. And it's, if you got Z7 II and you got D850, sensor-wise, dynamic range-wise, very nice cameras. Both can be used. And obviously one has been out for a lot more than the other one.
There you go. Andy said, what are your views on the articles about phone cameras killing the regular digital cameras?
Yeah, it's going to be it's going to happen eventually.
Did we discuss this? No.
Yeah, we wanted to do an episode on that, like a point of discussion for about 10 minutes. And we have those graphics, how mobile phones overtake all camera sales, including the first ones that were released like back in 20th century. So, but I think we are too early for this to happen. So, if you're gonna say this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen, it's eventually gonna happen. Like if it's gonna be a financial crash, they've been saying it for years, and maybe now it's happening. Who knows? So it's the same with this. Yes, I guess the sensors are gonna get better and better, and they will start to implement bigger sensors. I don't think we'll get DX sensor. Well, maybe not in the next 10 years. I will be surprised. Maybe it's going to be one of the experimental cameras, etc. But realistically speaking, in the next 5 years, you're going to be okay. From convenience point of view, of course, mobile phones are better because it's something that you have in your pocket all the time.
Always.
But realistically speaking, the cameras, will produce better image quality. What I like about phones is the whole AI thing, is the software they implement into taking the pictures, where it takes a lot out of people who don't know photography. So they can take the, press the button and they're going to get good shots straight out of the box. And that's what I think a lot of camera manufacturers really need to invest into. A lot of computational photography, there's a lot of AI involved in that. And it's maybe not for us pros because we like to be in control of everything, but to have that option to, turn it on by a whim or turn it off, it would be nice to have. So I think maybe we'll start to see that more in the next 5 years.
Yes, for those leaving us, Nick Can's got Zoom calls at 3 p.m. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We've got a few more minutes left before we have to go. So we're going to carry on the conversation here. Now, Will asked if mirrorless sensors allow for focus darker than f8. The answer is yes. Not sure why, but I'm curious to see a Z9 with the teleconverter 2x FTZ f-mount 2x. Wow. Oh, my goodness. And a large lens over 400 mil. I mean, I don't know if, could you imagine an 800 5.6 with a 2x converter on it? It has a dedicated converter, but anyway.
And then you hold it with one hand. You're not even supporting the lens. You just live like...
And then the camera falls apart.
Have you ever seen, have you ever played FIFA?
Yes.
So if you look at the photographers on that stadium, we're talking about video game. So those photographers take pictures of those AI footballers with one hand and for whatever, 500 mil.
Magic.
I'm like, brilliant. Whoever designed that, exactly.
Non-NPCs.
Exactly. The mount is made of, I don't know, something,
It's amazing. They're all carbon fiber. It's what
exactly.
Roger asked an interesting question, said, which is more popular in your shop, the 40 or the 2.8? These are the muffin lenses or pancake as we call
28 or 40?
Yeah, I mean, 40 is the one that sells more, but I would actually be interested to staticize that. We will do towards the end of the year our kind of like end of year review stuff where I'll go through all the stats and have a look at what were the top sellers. But my feeling is it's the 40.
Yeah. But none of the two are top sellers in the shop. Like
in comparison to the other more general purpose lenses. Aaron says that Matt Irwin did a test with the Z9 with long lens and TC and high aperture. So do check that out, Will, if you haven't had a chance to. Baxter makes an interesting point. He said, I'm surprised Nikon don't reissue old glass. And then my chat just jumped.
I mean, I'm surprised that Nikon doesn't do a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's
vintage,
difficult.
Like a vintage series, he said.
Yeah, I mean, they should really do a lot of things. I guess the capacity is not there. That's my assumption. But they could do a lot with videography, with vintage glass. Just imagine releasing your AI lenses.
Yeah.
I mean, you can charge double. You can go full on Leica on that.
Yeah.
Speaking of Leica Q2 Seal Edition. That's
right.
Highlight of my week.
Yeah, you were happy.
I forgot to put it on the podcast because otherwise we would probably spend 15-minute segment just discussing. Yeah,
we'll talk about it on Monday.
Exactly.
Now, Ahim points out the adapters for the Pentax 6.7 to F exist, so with the FTZ it should be fine. That's a really good point, actually. We'll give that.
You've got the lenses.
I've got the lenses. I've got the camera. I've got an FTZ. I could definitely do that. I'll check that out. Albert asked if any Z tilt shift lenses in the future. We think so.
We think so, yeah.
We're hoping so. There's definitely a demand for wide angle tilt shift lenses for architectural photography. I've spoken to many architectural photographers who are really begging for that. So I hope so. I have a question for the chat. Yeah.
How long do you think you people in the chat, do you think Nikon will take to actually complete the system? So including tilt and shift lenses, all exotics, most of the prime lenses, most of the zoom lenses, including 70-200, 2.8 and a 4, etc., etc. How many years do you think Nikon will take? Do you think it's going to be 2 or 3 years, or do you think it's more kind of 5-year thing?
Be interested to know your thoughts, actually. Steve, yes, we are referring to the Z105 not being compatible with TCs because the G AFS F mount is very much so, as you know, because you have it. Marvel loves the Z7 too, but would jump to get improved focus capability and flippy and floppy screen. The one that does all the flippy and floppy bits, which is good. Floppy. Yeah, I like that technical term there. And Nicholas asks, what's everyone's desert island Z mount lens? And J-Rod says 105 MC is the best lens so far for me. Now, I have to agree. The 105 surprises me at how versatile it is, I would say. I find it incredibly versatile despite the fact that it's quite a long focal length. The other day I did a whole day just with the 50mm macro. A couple of weeks ago I did the whole day just with the 105 and I wasn't taking pictures of flowers, believe it or
Are
not.
Are you sure?
Yeah. I was doing architecture and all kinds of things, not wide angle shots, but like, vignettes of parts of buildings and things. It's a beautiful lens.
Wonderful.
So that's me. Mike Deloy said he's a cheerleader for our likes, but the pretty one that nobody likes. That's okay, Mike. We like you. We appreciate your drumming up likes for our channel. What's your Desert Island Z lens?
I mean, I probably have a million batteries fully charged with me. Yeah,
That's
that
it.
would be a good start. But I'm going to kind of, well, they don't have 40. Voigtlander 41.2.
They do have a 40. They have a 40 f2. But yes.
They do have 40 f2. Actually, I keep forgetting about those lenses.
You're so funny.
They're good lenses.
Yes, they are. And our little video, which compares the two of them, still gets comments like on a weekly basis. It's interesting.
Maybe it will be worth comparing 40 Nikon f2 with the Voigtlander 1.2.
Yeah, although the Voigtlander is a 1.2.
Yes, but it's fine.
1.2?
Yeah, and it will cost a lot more.
Yeah. But yeah, we could do that because you've got one. So.
No, the Voigtlander 1.2 will come out in October.
Oh, the Z one.
The Z, yes.
The f2 is the F mount one's an f2, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was really
No, I'm talking
confused.
about the native Z lens.
I understand now. So we're looking forward to. Sorry, the guys have decided to put scaffolding out right now, so I have no idea if you can hear that on the stream.
Hello.
Thanks for that. But we will be seeing more Voigtlander Z lenses, and when they come in, we'll test them. We'll put out videos. We're slowly making our way through the F mount ones at the moment.
But yeah, coming back to the question about the completing the system and how many years, the different answers between 2 years up to 10 years. So here we have.
Wow, that's quite. I think 10 years is long, but I can also. That's, I suppose, a very realistic and quite practical way to look at things. But I hope it's going to be like no more than about 4 years before we see
45,
everything.
yeah.
Let's see. Tadia says his Desert Island camera is the FM3A with the Voigtlander 58 at 1.2. Very nice.
Which I have on my FM3 with me today.
Yeah, it's a nice combination that. Nigel says 800mm with a 2x converter to scan the horizon for a ship to rescue me. I think that's very well thought out then. And Deborah said the 40 f2 is a great lens to carry everywhere. It's much lighter than the Voigtlander F-mount one. And also you don't have to have an FTZ.
They're like difficult. It's like if you imagine like a proper handmade leather shoes with the sneakers, so that's kind of comparison. But it doesn't mean that one is better than another one.
No.
They both serve different purposes. And as a kind of inexpensive 40mm lens to take with you, which keeps your kind of camera quite compact, not pocketable, but still fairly small and light, I think it's really good lens.
Yeah. So, sorry, what was the answer to your question of which one? The 40, the 1.2 Z Voigtlander that you.
Well, I would say 40mm prime.
Right.
Whichever it is, probably. But if there's no 40 around, I'll stick to 35, I guess.
Okay. Fair enough. And a couple of people are saying that they're
24 to 200.
Yes, very practical. But quite a lot of love for the 105 macro here. We are joined together in our.
I wouldn't call it underrated lens though. Let's be honest.
No, it's not underrated.
It's the best macro. Let's be honest.
I mean, it's a beautiful lens for sure.
Until 200 comes out.
2470 2.8 is also a great lens.
It is. I love it.
Now there's a few, and then J-Rod said bring the Canon R5 to start fires with. Sure.
Well, definitely will keep you warm.
It will. Nicholas suggested 51.2S versus 58.14G. Gosh, those are quite different lenses to compare, but I can kind of understand why you might want to compare them. I'd like a 58.14G or 58.14Z that isn't the 51.2 price tag.
I think the chances of you getting a sharp shot wide open, it's high with 51.2 due to autofocus.
It is, but also no, the 58.14G is an autofocus lens. Sorry,
yes,
but the 51.2 is much sharper wide open.
Yeah,
that's
true as well.
It's just obviously the depth of field is so shallow.
But size-wise, I prefer 58 any day.
Yeah,
it's similar to 85.
It's like that big.
Yeah,
instead of like.
Exactly.
Yeah, I understand.
I mean, I know we like to measure everything in pints, but still, it's a little bit large for me.
Yeah, so Nicholas said kind of like our 3518S versus 3514G. Yeah, we kind of started doing reviews of all the Z sort of 1.8 lenses, primarily because Nikon don't have 1.4 Z lenses yet.
And it seems like we're not going to see them as well because they go in 1.2 route. Yeah.
But we're going to keep churning those out bit by bit. I think we've got the 50 mils video coming out this week. So, spoiler alert.
No, it's Voigtlander 28.
It's Voigtlander.
Voigtlander 28.
Just a week after. I'm trying to remember what's going on. Andy said, is the 24-120 internal focusing? I think all the Z lenses are, except the 50 macro. Pretty sure the rest of them are.
That one is just like...
Yeah, that one really extends out, but it has to focus. But as Craig pointed out, external zoom. So yes, but they mostly are. I don't know any lens that is internal zoom. 24-70 2.8 G is internal zoom, if I remember correctly. That's the only one I know. Or maybe it's not internal zoom, but the rear element doesn't move when you zoom, which is weird. 24-120 is a great constant companion lens, I think.
Yeah. If only it was available.
Yeah. Roy said I'd buy the 0.95 Noct if it was autofocus. You need AF at 1.2 and faster. I don't understand why it's autofocus. I mean, why it's not autofocus.
Well, they said the elements are just so heavy.
Yeah.
That, they can't design. But, I mean, just make it big. I mean, you already made it big.
Yeah, exactly. Just make it even bigger still. It comes in its
200
own
f2 size, exactly,
It's one of those odd ones. J-Rod said 1424 is internal. Thank you. That's great. Thank you to Obed for your contribution to the coffee fund. So I suppose question is, what are you shooting this week? Or what are you shooting with this weekend?
I've got 58-1.4 Voigtlander.
Yeah, on your FM3A.
That's what I'm going to try. I still got 40 that I'm still testing, also Voigtlander, which is mine. So I'm going to shoot that.
Okay.
So it's film photography this weekend.
Yeah.
What about you?
I have the, I don't know if I'm going to necessarily use it for this, but I've got the 90mm f2.8 Voigtlander f-mount lens, which I'm tempted to put on my f6 or my FM3A because it's so tiny.
So there was a horse police in there, so I was looking at them.
They come by this way sometimes.
We have a horse police in this town.
So the 90mm f2.8 is such a little lens for a 90mm.
I was so surprised.
Yeah. And okay, it's 2.8, but I'm quite intrigued with it, and I'd like to try it on the f6 or maybe the FM3A. So I think I'll be doing that, and then we'll obviously just be bringing along probably my Z6 and whatever prime I feel like at the time. I've got a few places I want to go, but the weather's looking pretty appalling, so I don't know if I'm going to do that in the end. I've got kids' birthday parties to attend as well, which is great fun.
Sounds like fun.
I know, always. Thank you to David. Said good job on making the cover of Nikon Owner. Thank you so much. After writing for the magazine for, I think, I've been here for 14 years. I started writing for about 12 years ago. This is the first front cover I've ever made. So there you go.
Yeah, it's a great achievement. David, congrats to you as well to be featured on the cover of Wedding Magazine as well.
Yes. Yeah, that's beautiful, actually. It was really, really good. Nicholas asked what your go-to film stock is.
Okay, going through a lot of stocks right now, just testing things, see what I like and what I don't like. Portra is probably the one I kind of like the most. I don't like Ekta is nice. What I don't like is Portra 160 unless you're photographing people. But I do not like Portra 160 for landscape shots.
I know
it's just not my thing. I know you like 160.
I do for my holiday stuff. Like when it's really beautiful light out, that's what I will use, but not in England.
Try Ekta for extra punch.
Yeah.
Just to see that.
I have, yeah.
Gold 200 in 120 is surprisingly nice, almost as good as 400, but still not the same. So there's slight shift in there. But I think Portra 400 for me is kind of to go to, I'm not shooting black and white as much as I hope for. So there is probably HP5 tracks. Any of those are good.
Interesting.
I want to try Kentemere stocks. Okay. Those are cheap and cheerful.
Yes, yeah, and it's always good to find a new favorite. I pretty much fell in love with Kodak Color Plus last year, and then immediately after I thought, this is a great film. I bought one roll. Actually, no. Yeah. Paul from Analog Wonderland gave me one roll to try out.
I've never tried it.
It's great. Yeah, I loved the colors. It was like it replaced out my Portra 160 sort of favorite for blue skies and stuff.
I'm going to spill the beans a little bit. I've got 100 rolls of Color Plus on order since November last year.
I was going to say.
Since November last year.
For a film stock that you've never tried.
Exactly.
The fact that you've got 100 on order
100 rolls.
Shocking.
Should last me about a weekend, I would say.
Yeah.
A couple of days.
Yeah, I guess so.
I should might feel like digital photography because who needs money nowadays?
You're obviously very rich.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I really, really saw that film as replacing out my Portra 160 obsession, and then you couldn't get it for love nor money anywhere. So I think I've saved one singular roll of Portra 800. Might try that this weekend.
800 is nice.
It's going to be really murky for on and off throughout the day.
I want to finish all my 100 and 200 stocks before the hour change at the end of the month. And after this, it's pretty much 800 film.
Put it in the fridge and then just use it.
No, it will. But it's kind of, I'm trying to go through them as much as I can. But I'm really happy that Gold 200 is available in 120 because it's probably so far the cheapest color film available for medium format.
Yes, exactly. We are wrapping up now. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to us waffle for an hour. For all the thank you to Randall. Thank you, Randall. Thank you so much for your contribution to the Coffee Fund. Hope you have a wonderful weekend as well. I really hope that any of our viewers who are in Florida are managing to stay safe. Thankfully, all of my family and friends have managed to avoid everything, but I know not everyone has been so lucky. Yeah. And I really, really hope that you're all managing to stay safe.
Ian is a bit of a nasty guy.
Ian is a bit of a nasty guy. Oh.
The Ian.
Ian. I was like, who are we talking about here?
You're talking about Florida.
Yes.
They have this Ian coming in and wrecking things,
I know. It was not on at all. So anyway, have a wonderful weekend all, and we will see you next week for another stream, etc., etc. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.